Guys, what's up? It's Snack Pack. We're going to get back in UH-60 today in DCS, and I'm going to show you a bunch of different ways to land this sucker. So we're going to bring it up to a 10-foot hover and see what we're hovering at. 10-foot hover is going to give us our in-ground effect hover torque. And it looks like I'm pulling in about 60%. About 60%. That's pretty typical of a unloaded Blackhawk. Alright, so the first type of landing we're going to do is just a VMC approach. Alright, so I should be at about, on a base leg, around 80 knots and just about 500 feet off the ground maybe. And so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to intercept a glide slope of my choosing. Alright, so we're just kind of getting ourselves set up here. Let me get a little bit more airspeed going. So I have a taxiway at the base of the runway, and then there's one just past that. And I'm going to shoot my approach right there to that middle of that black skid mark in the runway. So right about here, I'm going to drop my collective out to about 20%, and I'm just going to put a couple degrees nose up. And now I kind of imagine like a laser beam coming off my point of landing all the way to my helicopter, and I'm just riding that laser beam down. So I'm looking off to the right, and I can see my rate of closure. I'm trying to lose my airspeed and altitude, try to zero them both out at the same exact time, right? So you can see I'm slowly decelerating, slowly descending. Got about a 300 foot per minute rate of descent in right now. And I'm just maintaining my center line. It almost looks like I'm not moving at all, but if I look out to the side, I can see I'm just slowly coming in. Alright, and then I'm going to lose my intended point of landing underneath the dash because I hover at about a 5-degree nose-up attitude. And we're going to bring her down. The tail's going to touch first. There's my tail, left main, and the right main. Pretty easy, right? And so let's say I'm flying along and I experience a single engine failure. Whoop! Look at that. All my torque just dropped out of the number 2 engine here. And my number 1 engine's still doing good. But I was hovering at 60% torque. Well, that was on each engine, right? So now just my number 1 engine right there, the only one that's good. You can see on my NP gauge and my torque gauge, number 1's the only one working, right? Number 2's gone. Unfortunately, my rotor is that middle green bar right there, and that's still at 100%. So we're still flying along, right? My vertical speed's pretty much at 0, and I still got like 60 knots of airspeed. So everything's fine, but if I come into land, I needed 60% torque on each engine. Well, that's 120% on engine 1. So today I could actually probably do that, and I'd be okay. But if we had some significant weight in the back, if we had a bunch of troops or a bunch of cargo, that might not be an option for us. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come in and do a roll-on landing. I'm basically going to land this like an airplane. Now I'm supposed to be below 60 knots ground speed to do this. Alright, looks like is there something on the runway there? There's like an F-16. I'm just going to shoot it to this taxiway over here because I think there's like some aircraft on the runway. I don't want to crash into them. I didn't ask Tower for clearance or anything, so yeah, there's definitely some dudes taking off on the runway. We'll just shoot to this taxiway here. You can see my airspeed is about 60 knots. I can check my ground speed on the GPS, but we'll just say ground air indicate it's good for today. Oh yeah, they're coming over to the taxiway, so that's okay. Alright, so we're going to change our plans, come into the runway. This would be super illegal in real life, but whatever. I do what I want because I'm a bad boy. So check it out. I'm doing 60 knots, and I'm just going to slowly descend, drop out collective, maintain my center line, and I'm just going to land it, roll it on. Easy as that. As soon as I land, I can drop my collective all the way out, and then I can use my toe brakes down there to slow myself down. No big deal, right? So what if we're coming into land and we are hauling ass, right? We're doing 140 knots right now. It's like, man, I need to slow down really fast. I'm coming in hot here. All right, this is not good. Okay, so all I'm going to do is pull out collective, drop my collective as much as I can, and then I'm just going to pull back on the cyclic, And I'm going to try to keep my vertical speed at 0. I'm in a little bit of a climb right now. My rotor's shooting up. But right here, now I'm in what we call a terrain flight decel. I'm just pulling back on the cyclic, trying to keep my vertical speed at 0, but with lots, my collective pretty much dropped all the way out. Look at my airspeed now, below 40 knots. So I just lost like 100 knots in about 10 seconds. And then I can just shoot my regular approach to the ground. Here we come. Start add collective, cushion, the landing. Tail's going to touch left main, right main, collective full down. So what if I need to land on a sloped landing area? So I've got some buildings over here with sloped rooftops. Not even sure if I could land on one of these and not break through the roof, all right? But we're going to try to land over here on this sloped building here. I can't just come straight down and land on this thing. It can be really dangerous, and I can set myself up for something called dynamic rollover, right? You can look up videos of dynamic rollover in real life that have happened to real helicopters, and it's pretty scary, right? So the point is, I don't want to exceed the critical angle of a rolling motion here because I'm purposely going to set up a pivot point and have a rolling motion on purpose. I'm just going to do it in a very controlled manner so I don't exceed what we call the critical angle, which is basically the point of no return, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to set this parking brake while I'm flying, which is going to be a little tricky here. Alright, parking brake's set. So now I'm not going to roll forward or aft, right, when I touch down. Brakes should just be locked into position. And let me find my little building over here again. There it is. So I'll do a right wheel high. Now, just taking a look at this, I think it's actually going to exceed the limitations of this helicopter, but those are just for real life. So in the simulator, we can probably break those, be okay. So I'm going to set myself up and I'll come in, keeping in mind that my tail rotor, or sorry, my tail landing gear is behind me. I want to make sure that's on this landing zone. And then I'm just coming in nice and slow. Key to a slope landing, successful slope landing, is to really take your time, do it in a nice controlled manner. So my tail's going to touch first, and then my right landing gear, my right main landing gear is going to touch next, right? And then we're just going to kind of hold it there for a second. So I'm coming down very slow, very controlled. Try not to drift forward or aft or laterally. And there's the tail. And there's the right main is on the ground. Now you can see we're already starting to roll to the left, right? So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to intentionally put in a bunch of right cyclic, probably as much as I can actually put in. But as I put in right cyclic, I'm going to need to reduce my collective, right? As you can see, the helicopter's starting to roll to the right. That's okay, I'm reducing collective. I got full right cyclic in now. And then I can just set her down, let the collective come slowly down to the left. And now the left main's on the ground. The left strut will actually start compressing as I continue to reduce my collective all the way to the ground. And now I've still got full right cyclic in, so if I start letting some of that out, we're going to roll even more to the left. And now the cyclic's neutralized. We're in a 20-degree slope. All right, now that's definitely exceeding some of the limitations from the operator's manual, but I bet you we could probably do this in real life and be okay. All right, so now to get out of it, I have to remember what my hover attitude looked like, and it was just a couple degrees nose left, in a left bank rather, and about 5 degrees nose up. So now I'm going to put my right cyclic back into the slope, all full right cyclic here. I'm going to slowly, very slowly begin adding in my collective, and the left main is going to start extending, the strut will extend. Making sure I don't have any crazy pedal inputs going on. Alright, and there we go. So now we're just on that right main, and I'm trying to neutralize my cyclic. Now I'm going to apply some aft cyclic as I come up and add collective. Rolling back a little bit, it's okay. And then we just come straight up. So let's do another VMC approach to the top of this. I got a building, a tall building at about the 1230 here. So again, that's my intended point of landing. I'm just going to kind of imagine like a laser beam shooting straight up from that building straight to me, right? So I'm just going to start my approach here, and I'm just going to get on that little glide slope. Again, I'm looking out the right for my rate of closure. As I get closer to the ground, I'm going to get a better visual on how fast I'm going. Right? This is something called motion parallax. I can see way off in the distance it looks like nothing's moving at all, but things that are closer to me are moving a lot faster. Motion parallax is a visual cue that we use, especially when flying under goggles. Because under goggles you have no binocular vision. Very similar to flying with a VR headset on. You actually are using monocular vision. Alright, so I'm coming up to my landing zone and making sure I'm not going too fast, right? Because I'm almost here. And let's gently set her down. I'm going to start adding in collective, add collective. I'm going to come up to about my hover torque. Continue forward. Make sure my tail is on the LZ. There's the left main, or rear, and then the left main, right main, and we're down. Let's take a little gander outside here. Oh yeah. Good, so maybe this is a hospital and we're dropping off a medevac patient, or maybe there's a high value target here and we're dropping off some bearded dudes to go in there and blow their brains out. Either way, that's how we land to a tall building, top of a tall building. You would just need to do some research first to make sure it can support your weight, right? This is like an 8-ton aircraft right now, so make sure you're not going to punch a hole in the top of the building. All right, so let's say we got an LZ, maybe this open field over here, and let's say it's going to get dusty. So if we're in a flight, maybe we're the flight lead, we're the #1 aircraft in it, like a 4-ship air assault. So I got 3 guys behind me, right? 3 wingmen. And I'm coming in, I'm going to come down to about 100 feet AGL. And then I would do a terrain flight decel. Make sure almost zero out my airspeed, all right? And then when I have my intended point of landing, I'm going to start coming almost straight down, almost vertical, which can be dangerous. And I'm going to come down pretty quick. And then, right as I get to the ground, I'm going to cushion, and I'm going to get it on the ground as quick as I can. It's almost like a controlled crash, right? Blackhawk, you can land this thing pretty hard, and it'll take it, right? It'll take a beating, right? Those struts are pretty impressive, and you can set it down pretty hard. It depends on your gross weight. It depends on whether the terrain is sloped or if it's even. But generally speaking, you can touch down pretty hard, and Blackhawk will take it. And in the event of a dust landing, you really have to, because the simulator doesn't simulate it very well. But like right about here, if I was over just like a desert, flying in that moon dust, or even if I was in a really cold area and there was snow, it was super cold, the snow gets very fine, turns into this white powder. And right about here, just off the ground a few feet, with this rotor kicking up everything, we would be enveloped in a cloud and you wouldn't be able to see anything. So it's very scary because you're about to touch down and you're basically like inadvertent IMC on the ground. So I come down real fast and I just cushion at the very end and kind of controlled crash into the ground. That's okay, she'll take it. And then of course we got to end this video with a good old fashioned auto rotation. So I'm just going to squeeze the guts out over here and climb up. So for an auto rotation, what's going to happen is I'm simulating a dual engine failure, so I'm going to cut both of these PCLs. As soon as I do, my rotor system no longer has engines driving it. So if my collective is up, that can be really bad because the pitch of the blades is increasing, right? The more I pull on this collective, the more the pitch wants to increase. And as I decrease collective, the pitch is going to decrease. But it's also giving it more power for the engines, right? To make sure that the rotor doesn't droop. I want the rotor system to be at a constant rate of speed, you know, like 100% is where I want it. But as soon as I pull the engines off, that pitch rate is going to cause too much drag in the rotor system. It has nothing to compensate for it. And then I'm going to droop my rotor. That's going to be bad. So as soon as I kill the engines, I'm going to have to drop this collective out immediately, or else I'm just going to fall out of the sky like a rock. All right, so let's gain a little bit of airspeed. I want to be doing like about 100 knots. Well, let's find a good place. Yeah, I got a good spot over here. And here we go, 3, 2, 1, auto rotation. All right, I'm gonna drop my collective out. And there comes my rotor. I like that, that's good. I want that rotor to be climbing here. I'm at 100 knots, I'm in trim, everything's looking good. So down here at the bottom, I'm going to start to flare. Flare, and I'm losing altitude, I'm losing airspeed, and I'm going to use the residual energy in that rotor system to cushion. Whew. And we're on the ground. We just survived a dual engine failure, right? No big deal. And you can also see all my electrical is out, right? I still have battery power, so I'm still getting all those caution lights over there. Still got a few things that run on battery power, but I don't have generators because my engines aren't spinning them up, so let's advance those PCLs back to fly. As soon as the rotor starts spooling up, you're going to see I'm going to get all my indications back because the generators will come back online. There we go. Nice. Alright, so that was a bunch of different ways you can land a Blackhawk. So whether you're a sim enthusiast or a real Blackhawk student in real life, or maybe you're just getting ready for the zombie apocalypse and you want to have a way to get your family to safety, that's a bunch of different ways you can land a Blackhawk. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. We're up to about, I think, 270 subscribers, so remember, as soon as I get to 1,000, I'll tell you all about how I got the nickname Snack Pack in the military. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Take care.